Hey all, today's we are going to be digging into Romans 5, 6 through 8. At the end, I'll have a little bit to go into about plans for this channel and kind of digging in about how and where to do it. So, let's dig in. 6. Christ arrives right on time to make this happen. He didn't and doesn't wait for us to get ready. He presented himself for this sacrificial death when we were far too weak and rebellious to do anything to get ourselves ready. And even if we hadn't been so weak, we wouldn't have known what to do anyway. We can understand someone dying for a person worth dying for, and we can understand how someone good and noble could inspire us to selfless sacrifice. But God put his love on the line for us by offering his Son in sacrificial death, while we are of no use whatever to him. And, pardon the clogged nose, it's allergy season. I wanted to dig into this, and it kind of connects to what I'm going to discuss at the end here about the channel, but as I was just kind of meditating on this, it strikes me that there's beauty in God moving and acting long before, and it is easier to understand somebody willing to die for us if we do something we're dying for. But I don't think most of us think we've done anything we're dying for. I think that's why it can be so difficult to understand, and I wonder if that's why survivor's guilt isn't such a big thing, just that, well, that they would die for me. That question, well, I have to do something with it, those difficult moments that everybody struggles with death, and that God pushes all of that aside, not because he's pushing us aside, because he's trying to get to the point of his love for us and wanting us to be with him is that much greater than the difficulties that we may have in our understanding it. That the questions are okay because God understands us. So even if we don't understand that kind of love fully, when we ask, he's willing to teach us and show us and inform, deepening the relationship. And that is a remarkably beautiful thing to me. And I know I say that a lot, but it strikes me as quite lovely that we don't have to understand. We can ask, and he shares. And I really enjoy that. As to the plans for the channel, admittedly, I can be a bit of a sassy and sarcastic person from time to time, and I want to share that because, when digging into these verses, the first question I had running over and over, Christ arrives right on time to make this happen. I had the question, it's like, yes, Lord, but your timing sucketh, because we have those questions. And as I use this channel also when in prayer team for elevation and don't want to cause anybody to stumble, I'm going to be creating a new channel where I can dig fully into these kind of ideas, probably once or twice a week, and just go full on into it. Not for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, but for a full on hour plus, just getting into the richness and beauty and getting into the real questions. The questions of why. The questions that I've struggled with, and maybe you guys have too. I'm not sure if I will continue to do these daily first chunk readings. I still have to pray on that. But at the very least, I am sure that I want to dig into questions like Christ arriving right on time and what that might look like. Because I've had the question more than once in my life of, okay, Christ arrives right on time. Whose watch are we running by then? Because, and phrases like that, moments like that, though real for me, are not necessarily something that I want to potentially cause to stumble, if that makes sense. Because if I'm going to be operating inside elevation with the prayer, and I'm not saying I always will, just for the time being I want to respect them. So yeah, and honestly you could probably just ignore that whole thing, because it's wanting to do somewhere where, it's easier to just be me and not have to worry about causing stumbling. Because there are audience, And I'm starting to think sometimes that perhaps the churchy group is not my audience in any way, shape, or form. I speak their language, but I want to speak the language that needs to be heard. I don't know. Anyway, more details to come for sure. Tomorrow will more than likely be 9 through 11, and more updates on the channel name. See you then.